Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Мене звати
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm Valentin Pugacheva. I'm actually a Peaceful Life project manager, which is supported by the Federal Republic of Germany. We are going to talk about the human rights violations in the ATO zone and on the temporary occupied territories. Every day in the east of Ukraine, the rights offenders record in different cases in the sites where they take the prisoners of war and they use their slavery labor for their enrichment, and the number of the crimes increase every day in, day out, and they are actually violate the rights of the people there. Today we have the Pavlo Lysyanskyi, lawyer, director of Eastern Advocacy Group. So good afternoon. Maybe to start with say a few words about your organization and its main function. Our organization was founded in 2014 during the activation of the warfare in the city of Debaltseve. In those days, we've been acting on the, let's say, line of contact in the Donetsk and Lugansk regions, and we deal with the comprehensive protection of human rights. So we do not subdivide people into the, let's say, IDPs or the prisoners of war. We protect the rights of those people whose rights were violated. How many people you have in your organization and where you represent which regions? We are working in the Lugansk and Donetsk regions, and we have about 17 people, including volunteers, who actually support your organization. Maybe you have international donors. Yes, actually, we cooperate with the Renaissance International Foundation, with the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation. We actually became the winners of some of the projects on the region Council for the Refugees, in Danish Council for Refugees. And actually, for a long time, we've been cooperating with the NGO in Germany, KPNU. Actually, we restored the hospitals with the darks, but this project is completed and they left Ukraine. Your major focus, the area, is the violation of human rights. So what rights are violated more or less, etc., over the 2 last years? First of all, I would like to subdivide here human rights violation on the uncontrolled by Ukraine territory, the temporary occupied territory, and the territory which is controlled by the government of Ukraine. If we're talking about the uncontrolled by Ukraine territories, first of all, we should mention the violation of human rights, practical spheres of life of the people. Now, the major problems associated with prisoners of war and the prisoners, prisoners of war who were taken prisoners when they participate in combat activities, and the prisoners who actually committed their crimes before the year 2014, but when the so-called DPR declared their existence, they started to serve their sentences based on the laws, which in fact, on the republic which has not been recognized internationally, they use their labor as a slavery labor. In the same situation with our prisoners of war, they are involved in the digging operations, and their labor is used for the personal enrichment of some people. So we have some kind of the slaver state which actually use the free labor of the prisoners. And today, in the so-called law enforcement bodies of the separatists, they have a plan according to which they actually accuse or charge people, and accuse people, for example, for let's say, for holding the small arms, and they were sentenced then for 3 or 5 years of imprisonment, and they have to work there, owing to their free labor, they actually enrich their funds, etc. You know, when the people are charged or accused, they do not have the right to have the lawyers or anything else, and the question is what we are going to do with those people when we return them to our Ukrainian territory, whether those people were rightly accused or sentenced or not. So another very serious question is how to pay salaries to the same miners. They are working for miserable salaries, but they are forced to work there. They cannot leave their territory, and they work for 100, 200 hryvnia per month in order to at least earn some money to keep up their families. There's no, let's say, control on the engineering documentation in the mines, and that's why the people die there, they're killed there. Last times 5 people died because the entrepreneur didn't take care of the geological reconnaissance or prospecting, and they actually while digging, they actually there was a torrent of water which actually washed away 5 people. But they try to hide those facts, and it's for the human rights on the territory which is not controlled by the government. Ukraine, there are no rights, generally speaking. The jailbirds, so to say, of the prisoners of war. You know, if you have some contacts with the law enforcement or the Ministry of there, you can still remain as a suffers. But if you're an ordinary man, your life is miserable, and nobody even thinks about the human rights over there. We issued the monitoring review of the human rights in the prisons and the so-called LPR. That report was prepared by BBC, after which the leader Igor Plotnitsky declared that they were prepared to provide the Ukrainian ombudsman the access to those places for her to take care of monitoring. But as far as we know, she declined that proposal, where we can actually read this report. On our site, there were a lot of reposts or reprints, and some of the journals reprint that, including journals Denitsky, etc., and BBC site, etc. And doing that, we try to take care of the human rights protection. Can you say how difficult it is to carry out monitoring the temporary occupied territories, whether it's dangerous or not? Any kind of the human rights protection activity in this country and elsewhere, I can see here, for example, the life sentence was verdict for the struggle against discrimination. Even the human rights protection is very dangerous, and let's say activity and monitoring the preservation or protection of human rights on the occupied territory is very difficult task. You have to gather information and to protect the source of information which you use. This is not an easy task to implement, and also it's very important to present that information in proper way, to not to do harm to the people who actually provide you with this or another information. Against those who try to protect the human rights, there will be some actions against them always. Some of the representatives of the international organization advised me to stop my human rights protection activities. Maybe they're dated or something else, but I'm not talking even about those people who I reveal, or those who violate the human rights. And the let's say the human rights people, they irritate if somebody else takes care of that. And again, if you're talking about human rights violations in the uncontrolled territory, I would like to know that this Sunday we are going to have the first elections of the United Territorial Communities in the Nikolaev region, and they had resounding scandals about that. I understand that the people who are at the power now, they try to keep their positions, but if they are going to falsify, to make those elections fake or falsified, and the elections is one of the fundamental rights of human. Without that, we can even talk about some kind of democracy. We had to confirm the concern about the people by some real deeds or actions. Now they try to introduce some their acquaintance in the Territorial Election Commission. This is we are talking about some kickoffs or whatever else. So we'd like to call upon some kind of people who would protect the human rights to go to Nikolaev region. Nikolaevka, it's a 15,000 strong populated area, and this would be a test for all us, because after the war they're going to have the first elections according to local legislation. We have to demonstrate to everybody, to our international partners, that we give the chance to people to express their thoughts and ideas.
About the government-controlled territories, whether you cooperate in this sense, either with Lugansk and Donetsk, civil and military organizations, of course we cooperate with them. I am personally very much cooperative with Mr. Zhebrivsky, and I maintained good relations with Mr. Tuka when he used to be the governor. Also, we cooperate with Yuri Ilyenkovich, who is deputy governor and head of the civil military administration of Donetsk Oblast. Unfortunately, we found no understanding with the current governor of Lugansk Oblast, but his deputy governors cooperate with us. Unfortunately, people not like Yuri Harbuz are not very proactive, and actually this all these are examples that everything remains, everything depends on specific people. Currently in Donetsk Oblast, there is a big indebtedness, big wage arrears to miners on behalf of the state. And last year, the Verkhovna Rada passed the law to support miners, and now there are big areas in wages. Now New Year and Christmas holidays are approaching. What people will, what those miners will bring home to their children, what presents they will buy for the holiday, and these are citizens of Ukraine, and despite their political views, we should preserve, we should grant their civil rights, and we should prevent further war. What is about legal awareness of civil people in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast? Are people aware about their human rights, etc.? Some time ago, we came to conclusion that you cannot help everybody. We only respond to those people who come to us and state and complain that their human rights are violated. For those people, we organize trainings. We do not speak generally. We speak very specifically about violations of their personal rights, and we provide advice how to resolve some specific problem which they have as of this moment when they come to us. And we not just provide this like primarily awareness workshop, but we also try to assist them for some time. Gradually, they become stronger in fighting for their human rights. They learn how to act lawfully, standing for their human rights. How to counteract to illegal dismissal from job, etc. Currently, we're gradually stepping back from donor grants because we have not enough time to submit for funding. Unfortunately, every day we deal with urgent cases, urgent matters when there are illegal or unlawful detentions by law enforcement agencies, when wages are not paid in full amount, when human rights are violated at a very ordinary level in everyday situations, and this does not allow us to apply for grants. We simply have no time. That's why we have to mobilize our domestic resources in order to provide response immediately and timely way. Who are those people whom you help most? Others, minors, teachers. These are also doctors. Svetlodarsk City Hospital, also miners from Tsaretsk and Lysyansk. Our clients are teachers or even construction workers who were underpaid against the contracts. These are also prisoners coming from non-controlled territories. And when they are denied from job, sometimes I get an impression that there is a large-scale offensive on human rights. Now the new labor code will be passed when the rights of the trade unions will be limited. They will simply shrink. Of course, I understand that trade unions irritate the employers, but everywhere in the world they are big supporters for the employees. Actually, due to the trade union, employees become equal to the employers, and if the rights of employers are strengthened, then the balance is ruined, and this may result in social tensions, of course. Thank you very much. I have two questions to you. How we can maintain feedback with you, whether you are present on Facebook. Yes, we have our site wpg.ua.org.ua. We have a Facebook page. I'm absolutely reachable. I always respond to the calls to my cell phone, and we always try to respond to all the violations of human rights. Would you please add some words about your plans for the future? Our plans for the future are as follows. This Sunday we will monitor elections in Mykolaiv. Then we plan to steer up our activities in the legal field and stand more proactively for the human rights in Lugansk and Donetsk Oblast. And during the last 2 years, being the support of democratic parties, I tried to abstain from criticism against the ruling authorities, but after these 2 years, seeing no improvements in terms of human rights, I am now ready to take more proactive position and to organize public demonstrations. Sergei Malerchuk, UCMC. Pavlo, could you mention how many people were supported in this or that way by organizations for the last 2 years? I'm absolutely sure that this was more than 3,000, maybe closer to 4,000, some 3,600 or 3,700 people. Almost 1,000 people were those people whom we accompanied till court, till beginning of the court hearings. Whether you have any statistics, how many people from gray zone, from occupied territories you supported? Up to 800 people from occupied territories who appealed to us. We supported. All the rest are from mainland Ukraine. And the last maybe question, how much your assistance can be helpful for the people coming from occupied territories? If I understand your question correctly, you wish to know what is the range of problems with which people come to us. For example, in 2014, when there were active combat activities, some employees of state enterprises did not get their salaries and wages. Now, for example, many people apply on the issue of transportation of prisoners from occupied territories to non-occupied territories. That's why we have passed a report how many prisoners remained in the occupied territories, and a special statement was produced by us requesting prisoners to be allowed to to serve sentence where they wish, occupied or non-occupied territories. Also, for example, once there was a case when a man came to non-occupied territory to take his children into occupied territory. And unfortunately, we are unable to help efficiently with non-engagement of authorities from non-occupied territories. Whether you have any experience of any cases in international courts. Yes, we participated in submission, in filing cases to international courts. I mean, this was not our organization which was involved, but our lawyers were involved to this process. Of course, we cooperate with the Severodonetsk representative of the UN High Commissioner on internally displaced people. Also, we very closely cooperate with the Red Cross, with UNDP, but actually very immediate work is with the UN High Commissioner on displaced people and migrants. Some international organizations like UNDP try to do something. They had organized a forum of women and youth. And it's quite clear that there was no practical work. It was just an event at the end of the year to cover the budget. While in reality, Vostok source the right on defense, which are supported by the same UNDP, but they do real work. Thank you, Pavlo. Whether we have further questions? Since there are no further questions, I would remind you that we had Pavlo Lysyanskyi, lawyer director of Eastern Advocacy Group. Dear participants, next Tuesday we will have the regular